Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 355. In this episode, you are going to hear from Dr. Wendy Oconnor. And Dr. Wendy is a Stanford-trained positive psychologist and life strategist for women. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about how you can have your cake and eat it too, and over and over and over again, and then make a new one so you can have that too. We're also going to talk about giving yourself permission to thrive and the importance of saying yes instead of a deliberate no. This episode is so good, and it's the new year, 2024. And so I know that happiness is on our minds. That's what's behind a lot of our goal setting, right? Is because we want to be happy and live a fulfilling life. So I figured this episode would be so timely. Help me welcome Dr. Wendy Oconnor.
Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I'm so glad you're here. Today's guest is Dr. Wendy Oconnor. Dr. Wendy, thank you so much for being here. Excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited as well.
So before we go any further, I've got to ask you, do you consider yourself ordinary or badass?
So this is a funny question, actually, because I thought initially I was like, oh, I'm such a badass. But I almost find like I'm a combination. I'm a badass in the vision I have for my life. And I make the strides to get there pretty ordinary and simple. So I think I straddled both lines there.
I like it. I like it. So how do you come to have this badass vision for your life?
Well, that's a very big question. So let's go back to childhood. As a psychologist, let's go back to childhood for a moment. I grew up in an environment that was really intense. There was a lot of toxicity. There was a lot of intensity, a lot of anxiety. I really felt for so many years of my life just like nervous, scared, like I didn't feel like I could be myself for a very long time. And during those years, even though I might have felt riddled with fear or anxiety and really kind of like in some moments crippled by it, there was still this voice or this like kind of like little niggle in my mind about there's got to be something better than this. Like this can't be it. I can't, what my chapter of my life is now or has been during my years as a child, adolescent, whatever, can't be the best it gets. There's got to be something more than this. And I feel like always having some connection to that inner thought, that like question of like, what is it? What could it be? That's always guided me. So as soon as I then left home and I went to college and had freedom, as we would think of it in a traditional sense, all of a sudden, that thought, that belief, that question was like, oh, here it is. So I get to create whatever I want my life to be. I get a fresh, clean slate. I get to start over. I get to decide who I am. I get to leave behind anything that didn't serve me. I get to shed my skin and start anew. For me, that little voice in my mind got to explode. And then from there, once I got a taste of what life could be by my design, it became just a non-negotiable. Forevermore, my life will never be dictated by other people. I will never feel trapped. I will never feel stuck again. I will never feel disempowered. I will always take the reins of my life. And so here we are.
Sometimes I think we think there's got to be something more, but then we always keep thinking that throughout the rest of our lives instead of being happy now. How do you, I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but how do you not get stuck in that trap and then finally, appreciate where you are now?
The secret in my mind is to do both. Why does it have to be either being happy now and settling, or moving forward and disregarding your life and all the beautiful parts of it and all the things you could be appreciative of now? Why can't we do both? Why can't women feel so beyond grateful and appreciative for all the gifts in their lives and all the things working and all the things going well and all the beautiful humans that are a part of their life experience, and give themselves permission to want more. This is where a lot of women get tripped up. They think they should either be happy enough as it is and stop wanting for more and just be grateful for what is and let it go. Or if they're going to proceed into a life that's have to not be content along the way. They can't be fulfilled along the way, excited along the way, happy along the way. It's one or the other. And my philosophy that I feel very strongly about is you get to have both. Have gratitude and persevere and pursue something else that's even bigger and greater than you can ever imagine.
Have your cake and eat it too.
Have your cake and eat it too, and then eat it again, and then eat it again, and then bake a new one.
I like it. I like it. So, Dr. Wendy, will you share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I was career-wise, I started out as a clinical psychologist. I was trained many years ago. Gosh, I think I'm on maybe 15 years as a licensed clinical psychologist. I originally completed the first dream. The first dream was to become a psychologist, hang a shingle, learn how to make jam, have babies, like just have this life that just felt like just so complete in this beautiful little bubble. And I worked with a lot of patients with anxiety and depression primarily, really helped people get from a place of a lot of intense mental health suffering to being able to really function and be in their lives and start working towards their goals. But then I started to feel a little burnt out. I had 3 daughters, 15 months apart. So I had my first daughter, and then 15 months later, I had twin girls, and still keeping a full private practice. And I started to just feel a different relationship with my work. I felt like this wasn't it for me anymore, that the work I had done was so valuable, and I was so grateful to spend the years serving the way I did, but that this chapter was coming to completion. And I knew that there was a next something that was meant for me in this new chapter. And so I decided then that I was going to get creative and tap into what felt missing about my clinical work, where I felt like maybe disconnected from the joy, where I maybe didn't feel it was as aligned with who I was and wanted to be at that season of life. And I started to play with ideas and got creative and really just said to myself, if anything was possible, if I could do anything else next, what would I want to do? And I knew that I still wanted to be of service. I knew that I still wanted to make impact, and I wanted to change people's lives forever. But I didn't anymore want that focus to be around suffering to function. I wanted that focus to be from function to thriving. I wanted it to be the next iteration of what life could be like, that it's not just about going through the motions and being able to get through the day, but this next season for me was about something that felt lighter and brighter than that. I needed that for myself personally and professionally. I needed to feel that excitement, that charge, that zest again. So I decided to shift from clinical work to the coaching world. And I decided to become a psychologist who coaches women on designing lives that light them up and that they're obsessed with. So I really studied the science of happiness, which is positive psychology, and started to practice these tools and bring them into the work that I did. And I ended up blowing up this really fun idea into a really incredible business model. So I've coached women all over the world on designing lives that light them up. Now my specialty is in focusing on female entrepreneurs as a success coach. And success meaning, how do you make the life and business of your dreams that's the most aligned way possible? It's about having fun. It's about knowing who you are, what you desire. It's about tapping into your strengths and your values. It's about designing a business that supports the life you want to live, not a business that feels like an obligation, a burden, taxing. It's about having some fun and fulfillment at the same time.
So, take us back to that time where you were feeling burnt out and what was going through your mind and what led you to actually make a change.
I'm not somebody who settles for discontent. I'm not wired that way to settle for discontent. And so when I started to notice, oh, this is interesting. I'm not feeling the same excitement for work. Now I'm feeling like, oh, maybe getting the Sunday scaries. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to start the week yet. And my girls are so little and I just want to be home, or I just want to have more time with them, or I just want to feel less spent. I wanted more energy. I wanted more presence. I wanted more peace. I was just thinking, this isn't feeling right. And so I saw the gap. I saw that there was where I was, and I saw that there is a gap between where I was and where I wanted to be, that I wasn't getting the things out of my business at the time that I really needed in this new chapter. And so because I'm somebody who doesn't settle, I said, okay, then something needs to give. What would that be? So it wasn't like, oh, should I, shouldn't I? It was more a question of what will it be? What's next? Like, this can be a complete chapter of my life, and it doesn't need to drag on for longer than it's to drag on. I get to know when the time comes and when the time is to do something different, and I don't overthink it. And the overthinking piece, I know a lot of women get stuck in, a lot of people get stuck in, and really it's an incredible tool to start learning how to overthink less and take action more, even when you have no idea necessarily the best way to go forward or how to do it, or even if it'll work. So that's just what I did. I said, we're going to try something new, and I have no idea if transitioning from this clinical world to this wild, wild west of coaching is going to be something that is amazingly successful. But what I'm willing to do is try, because I'm not willing to settle for not being satisfied and like completely content in my life.
So did you do coaching on the side, or did you just leave altogether and just start your coaching business?
I let it be a soft transition. So I let my patients who were going to start to graduate out. I started to take on some coaching clients, see how that felt. I was really thinking about, do I want to have a particular niche or specialty? In the beginning, I really didn't. I just wanted to help women thrive. And so I didn't care what walk of life, what was going on, if they were business owners or not. It didn't, none of that mattered. It was just, if you are a woman who wants to love your life, let's work together. So it started to build slowly that way. And then so over time, I would have more coaching clients, and I stopped taking new clinical patients. And then that's how it transitioned.
What stops women from thriving?
So many things, but number one, in my mind, like my belief, is permission. I do not think that enough women give themselves permission to thrive. I think that many women don't even have it on the menu. It's not even something they think is available to them. That it's not something that they wake up being like, how do I thrive today? Because their mind is so focused on survival. It's so focused on pleasing the world and being good and doing the right thing that won't ruffle feathers and keeps people happy. It's about saying yes more than it's about being deliberate with your nose. It's a conditioned response to society's expectation of women and how we live our lives. And so because of that, as the result of that, or the byproduct of that, is women do not feel like they have permission to choose an alternative. An alternative way of life is just not something that they think is for them. It's just for those lucky ones, or those other people, or those influencers on Instagram, but it's not for them. So permission is number one. And I think number two is, when you don't give yourself permission, you really are completely removing a possibility from your life. And so you're not going to learn. You don't know how you would even do it if you could. So one is like, I don't even think I can have that. It's not even something I really consider, because I'm just so trying to keep my head above water and how my life is today. And number two is, I wouldn't even know how to get there. So forget it. I'm too tired to think about planning that out, mapping that out. Right. I just need to get through this day.
So if we're giving ourselves permission, then what? What's like the next step we could take?
The next step is to really ask yourself what you want. Again, a very simple yet very complicated question for many women. This is a place that there have been many women that have been in my world and will say, I don't even know what I want. I know I want things to feel better or different, but I don't know what. And so there is some time that needs to be spent in this particular space to explore who you are, to know how you would answer simple questions like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite thing to do in your free time, or your favorite hobby, or what do you love, or what do you hate? It's really reconnecting with yourself. And something I'll tell my clients all the time is, know thyself. One of the best gifts we can give ourselves is to know ourselves, is to truly connect with, who am I? What am I about? What do I stand for? What do I value? So there's a self-exploration piece that I think is really integral to being able to get to that place of even seeing thriving as an option. We need to reconnect with ourselves. We've become so fractured, so splintered from who we truly are because we've been put in and allowed ourselves to be shaped in many different boxes of different sizes. And so when we finally pop the lid off the box and say, oh, thriving is an option, well, what do I do next? The next thing is to just connect with yourself. Who are you? What's missing from your life? If you had a magic wand, what would you change? What would you want to be different? What would you just want to experience that is not part of your experience in life now? And play in that space for a while. Be curious. Be very curious about who you are and let yourself like reconnect with you. Not only in the answers you come up with to those questions, but then even in how you live your life. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. My favorite movie is this. I should put that on tonight. Let's watch it. Or I forgot. I haven't had my favorite food in forever because the kids don't eat that. Or my husband doesn't love that. Or whatever the case may be. I'm going to order that tonight. All of a sudden, when we start to allow ourselves even to generate curiosity about who we are, then we open a door of what's possible in real life on the other side. And now we get to start living closer to who we are just by simple decisions like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that in forever. But you know what? I'm getting my guitar out of the closet. I just want to like strum a few chords and like hear myself again. And I haven't thought about that in years. That's really empowering for women to experience.
Yeah, and I like this idea of like being curious about it because I think it can be so easy to be like to beat ourselves up, like, oh, why don't I have this figured out? Why didn't I do this sooner? Just whatever it is, we get in our head and can beat ourselves up over it. So I like that idea of being curious. You mentioned like know thyself. And most people probably think, oh, I know myself. But like, do you really? What what do you recommend for people to do so that they can get to know themselves better?
So part of that would be just what I said about these questions. Like tap in, make a list of 10 to 20 questions. Imagine you're interviewing somebody else. Imagine you're interviewing your best friend and you would write down 10 or 20 questions to ask her, that things you would really love to know because you love her. And you're like, I want to know everything about you. Here are 10 questions, 20 questions. I'm going to write down those questions. But instead of asking her, which of course you could do, that would be really fun to do too in your friendship. Instead of asking her, you're going to ask yourself. You're going to interview yourself. You're going to get really curious and ask yourself questions that you may never have asked yourself, or at least you may not have asked yourself in a very long time, and see what answers come up. That's where you begin. It's just make a list of questions, some of which I just shared that are just super basic. But again, these are simple, but for some of us, it feels complicated. I don't even know my favorite movie, or I don't even know my favorite ice cream flavor. When was the last time I even got to have ice cream? I've been so busy or so caught up in whatever. So it's really this chance that we can interview ourselves and see our answers as a really valuable piece of the equation. When we see ourselves as being valuable, when we see our lives as being important, all of a sudden it just sheds a different light on how we want to move through life. So the more we get to know ourselves and answer some questions, some may be silly, some may be deep, some may be multifaceted, it's all perfect. But the more that we know ourselves and answer those questions, or even recognize the places that we don't have easy answers and we really struggle, maybe that surprises us, that's where we also want to lean into curiosity and not judgment. It's not about how quickly you get to this place of knowing yourself. It's not about how quickly you thrive. It's just about the journey and letting that be a very deliberate process.
So it's funny that you said it's not about as quickly, because I think that's what we automatically go to. And actually, what I was going to say is, do you find that like your clients get like exponential growth, or like once they start doing it, it becomes a lot easier? So maybe it does go quicker. I mean, I get you're saying that's not the goal, but I know certain things when I'm trying something new and then, oh, I like say push past fear. Okay, I'm pushing past my fear. I'm doing this. And then the next time I do it, it becomes just a little bit easier, a little bit easier. Has that been the case for your clients?
I think that's a really great question. My answer is yes and no. Every iteration of ourselves that we grow into or stretch ourselves into unlocks a new one. So the growth is never done, or the learning's never done, the transformation or evolution's never done. It's always happening. So yes, if I'm trying to achieve a very specific goal, I'm trying to learn how to play guitar, I'm trying to learn how to cook this dish, I'm trying to learn how to do something specific, then yes, mastery will make it much easier over time, and you'll be able to streamline your experience and have your results faster. But when we're talking about living a thriving life, what we typically see is that you may notice progress or you may notice the results that you're initially after. And because you're experiencing this positive change, all of a sudden you want positive change in other areas of your life. So all of a sudden it's like this domino effect where you feel, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize it was possible to feel so much healthier in my relationships, or to feel so much more confident in setting my boundaries, or to feel like so powerful as I launched my new business. I didn't even realize these things were possible. What else is possible? So my clients tend to come in my world and then stay for a long time, because it's not just the one goal that they thought they came in to work on, or the one thing that they thought was most necessary to feel better about their lives. It ends up being this incredible ripple effect that touches on many different categories of their lives. So there's like always exciting work that can be done, always exciting change that can be done. It's more of the commitment to the journey and the process than about these kind of like flash in the pan results that we think we're after.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like we always want like the quick result, the instant thing. And then even though like you might know, oh, that doesn't happen or that's not sustainable, it's like we still want that or have desire just the quick result, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's because we're sold quick results all the time. We're taught to believe it's possible so that somebody can make a couple bucks on us and buy it. And like we just buy in because someone said you'll get there faster. Just choose this, choose me. And so we do. So if we weren't being sold the quick fix all the time, we would have a little bit more, I think, grit and perseverance built up to be able to navigate like the sustainability we're actually after. We're actually not after the fastest results. We're actually after something bigger and deeper than that, which is sustainability, being able to keep the results, to have the life, really have the life. That's different.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say is happiness sustainable and how?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Because it's the journey. Like happiness, a happy emotion 24/7? No, of course not. Right? Happy feelings, sad feelings, angry, anxious, like all of these emotions we experience are completely normal. We don't want to get rid of any of them. It's actually really healthy to have a beautiful range of emotional experience. So, but contentment, fulfillment, 100% sustainable when you go after it in the right way. So the way I teach my clients to pursue fulfillment and success is through knowing thyself, connecting with your values, making decisions that are aligned with your strengths and who you are and what you're after, and permission to refine along the way. So because of that as your foundation, you will create this sustainable long journey of towards and of fulfillment, especially if we talk about that concept we discussed at the beginning, which was, can we have both? So if we're thinking about going through this journey, both being super appreciative every day that we get to live, every day we get to show up and go after what we want, but already what we have, and pursue something greater, then that's contentment right there. That's happiness right there. That's completely sustainable. But it's not about sustainability of a happy emotional state 24/7. That's not happiness.
Right, right. And it's like, I mean, if there was never any sadness, it's like happiness would be, it wouldn't feel so good, you know?
That's right. Absolutely.
So you mentioned this idea earlier of the importance of saying yes and yes as opposed to the deliberate no. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think a lot of times when you had asked me about what keeps women from thriving, and one of the things I really believe gets in the way of women giving themselves permission to thrive is the conditioning to be good. We are supposed to be good girls, good women, kind, be good people, very, very, what was it? My daughter I volunteered in her classroom this morning, and they were doing all these fun holiday crafts. And her teacher has created this concept of the class being the kind squad. So there's this leaning into being kind, being nice, beautiful concepts. However, there are some times, and for many women, that these ideas get taken too far. like kindness at the expense of who I am, kindness at the expense of what I'm comfortable with, right? Being nice over being real. And when we get lost in the weeds on these detours, it's really difficult for us to understand what an authentic yes is and what an authentic no is. So the more yeses that we give people, the world, the asks or requests on us, the harder it is to stay connected to who we are. And you'll know this is you if you are somebody who says yes, and then the day of the commitment or event or experience, you say to yourself, why did I say yes to this? I didn't really want this, or I didn't expect that it was going to feel like this. I don't want that. I don't want to do it. How do I get out of it? Or how do I cancel? There's even a t-shirt that I love. It's like, my favorite plans are canceled plans, because there is this expectation that to be kind or good or nice, we say yes. We say yes, of course. Yes, I'll help. Yes, I'll volunteer. Yes, yes, yes. And the more we say yes without being intentional with those yeses, the more we rob ourselves of having an easier time with deliberate no's. And women often don't feel like they have permission to say no and still be seen as a kind, good human. It's one or the other, but that's not the truth. And I believe strongly women really need to start allowing themselves permission to give deliberate no's and to just say it with love and respect, and for it to be a no. And that's the whole answer, and that's completely fine. And if women did this more, we would have a much easier time living thriving lives.
So I'm going to push back a little bit. As
Good.
an introvert, I make agreements to go places, and it's just hard for me to get out of my comfort zone. And so going places where there's like a lot of people, that's not always fun to me. And so, I might make the agreement and then I'm like, oh crap. Now I got to go to somewhere where there's a lot of people. So how do you kind of decipher, if that's just like your introverted nature and you really do need to get out and push your comfort zone versus maybe it's something you don't want to do?
This is the best question. This is such a good question. So how I look at this comes down to this one question that to ask yourself, is this what I want now, or is this what I want most? So if you are pursuing the life as an introvert and you are like, what I want most is to be more comfortable in big situations or events. What I want most is to have a full life where I do some things outside with people and I have my time to recharge, but I'd like access to both and I want this full, rich life. That's what I want most. What I want most is what we want guiding our micro decisions. So if you were, let's say, the person who is the yes person or the people pleaser, and it's not about being an introvert and needing to have some challenge and some stretching and to lean into some edges a little bit in life, but it's really about I say yes to all the things and I notice that in that moment that I feel pulled and I wish I said no, it's not just wanting to say no in this moment, it's actually reflecting a bigger no. It's reflecting a bigger decision around who I really am as somebody who wants to value my time better. I want to feel more freedom to spend my time the way I want to spend time. I don't want to say yes to all these things and then just feel like I was robbed of my own design, of my own opportunities to choose. So it's really understanding those micro moments of a decision. What do I want now versus what do I want most? And if what you want most is bigger than this moment of like, oh, I have to go to the gym again. I don't want to go to the gym, but I really want to be healthy and fit. But I don't want to go to the gym, but I want this more. We choose what we want most over what we want in a moment. So that's how I would answer that related to like, well, I'm an introvert and I'm trying to stretch myself. Well, there's something you want more than this moment of a no or yes. What I'm speaking about is women that are often saying yes, when what they really want most is to have the freedom and the confidence to say no and to give themselves that space to design something different in their lives.
Yeah, and I think that especially with family, it can be hard. Like setting boundaries, I feel like that's probably the hardest is like family, maybe your close friends, because it's like you said, we're so conditioned to just say yes without being like, oh, how does this fit into my life? Or is this what I really want most, as you said?
Yes.
Um, Something I want to go back to is you talked about your daughter and in her classroom and how they had I don't remember what you called it, like the kindness circle
The
and
kind squad.
kind squad, yeah. And I liked how you said like we have kindness at the expense of who we are, but what do you say to your daughter, or do you say anything so that she doesn't take this and mean she just has to be kind and can't express herself.
Hmm. Oh, parenting, where do we begin with this topic? I could speak forever. This is how I approach it. This is just how I approach it. So I see my daughter, and the teacher gives her a Kind Squad t-shirt today. She gives everyone a Kind Squad t-shirt to wear. And I see all these adorable kids wearing Kind Squad t-shirts. And my first thought is, so adorable. And my second thought is, okay, I'm going to have some coaching opportunities with my child. That's how I think about this. Okay, because life exists in content and context, and life exists in the nuances of something. So I look at first glance of like, absolutely, let's teach children to be kind to one another, to be empathic for one another, to be compassionate, to be understanding, to be open-minded, 100%. What I don't want my daughter to internalize is a message that means kindness over authenticity. And so that's going to exist for me behind the scenes. Yes, wear your t-shirt and be kind and do all the amazing things. And when you come to me and say, Mommy, I'm struggling because I really don't want to do this thing, but I don't want to hurt someone's feelings because that's not kind. Now there's a very specific example of something I can coach her on. And I can talk to her about the nuances of kindness and the continuum that we can look at these things on. That it's not unkind to be true to yourself. That it's not intentionally hurtful or harmful to somebody else to say no or to set a boundary. But that's not unkind. And this is where, obviously, as adult women, we get very confused in the details and we get stuck in the weeds of how to make decisions because our brains tell us kindness equals yes, unkind equals no. So how is anyone expected to have an ability to confidently set boundaries if they're questioning themselves and they're questioning even their character and their way of showing up in the world and their relationships if kindness is yes and unkind is no? So the way I see it from a parenting perspective is really to use little micro moments with her as opportunities to teach the nuances, because it's not just a yes kind or no kind, it's yes kind and here are some context pieces that we really want to consider when you're making your internal decisions of how to live your life by design.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad. You're welcome.
So we see Dr. Wendy. I know it's social media world. Everything is gumdrops and lollipops, but we don't always see the behind the scenes. Like they might think, oh, it's easy for Dr. Wendy, but it's not easy for me. Can you share some of the hardships you've gone through to get to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to speak to the gumdrops because they sound delicious. My daughter had them on her gingerbread house this morning in school, and I was thinking, gosh, when was the last time I had a gumdrop? Because those are so good and I want them now. So it's funny you mention that. But I also think this, if we take a minute for the social media moment, which is an important moment for women, there is a lot on social media that can absolutely be upsetting, can be just derailing for people. It can be completely awful. It can be really like, it can make us question ourselves, our worth, our value, all the things. And I also want to say that we need to remind ourselves to be really discerning with the spaces that we put ourselves in, meaning unfollow everybody and anybody that makes you feel bad about yourself. Like, let's start there. Like, that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is, yes, we see people's highlight reels, and that's the point. For many, I mean, and I follow many people who share the raw, the behind the scenes, the ugly, all the things, because, you know, I'm kind of drawn to the authentic piece of it. But I just think there's also, we need to remember we have permission to unfollow the accounts that make us feel bad about ourselves. And we don't have to just wish they would show us more behind the scenes, because we don't need to have access to everyone's bad days to feel legitimized in our bad days. And I don't want that to be a message for my daughters or for women, is like, oh, I only feel validated in my bad day if I see your bad day. It's, hold on a second. Like, my bad day is legitimate on its own. It doesn't have to be compared to somebody else's highlight reel to be valuable or to be worthy or not worthy. So I just want to say that piece about it. But in terms of my own hardships for me over my life have all just been the moments of internal struggle. They've all been the moments of feeling wobbly in my confidence, that I've questioned myself. Like, who am I really? Like, am I good? Am I good enough? Am I doing this right? Am I messing up? And of course, this comes up a ton with parenting, AKA 48 hours ago when I was in tears, because I was convinced I was just failing with a capital F. And there's a good chance I was. So I'm not saying it to be extreme or dramatic. There's a good chance that I was. And I believe that. And I believe that self-forgiveness and compassion is a really completely non-negotiable part of the journey as well. So my hardships or the adversity in my life is mostly internal. It's mostly the me versus me conversations that I'm having behind my own curtains of, am I doing a good enough job? Am I making a difference? Is it working? How, like, am I messing this up? Yes, I'm messing this up. What do I do about it? So for me, a lot of that behind the scenes stuff that doesn't, and I also, there was a period of time I felt like as a social media presence, I felt like I should be sharing more of that piece of my life. And then I had this aha moment was, I don't, it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't make me more valuable as a servant of others, as one who serves others, to have to share the bad days. I have a business, and my business is about opportunity to overcome and opportunity to thrive. Everyone's going to have bad days. But my philosophy is it's how we overcome or how we navigate through or how we get to the other side of something, how we build our tools, how we build our strength and resilience that gets us closer to a life we love. I don't share that stuff as much anymore. I don't want it to be a comparison of Wendy's hard day versus my hard day, or her hard day seems like this, so I'm not sure about my hard day. That's not what my positioning is on social media. But in terms of just behind the scenes, it's the daily commentary that my brain has for me. It's the daily, like, not asked for comments that my brain likes to spit out without my permission. And then it's about which of those are going to, like, spiral me if I give them permission to, and which am I going to kind of put in their place and move on.
I think this mom guilt is something that women can relate to, my audience can relate to. How do you manage that or navigate it, or how do you not get in your head about it?
Yes, it's such a great question too. So the way I look at mom guilt, I think there is guilt, and then I think there's this thing called mom guilt. And so I feel like, where do I even begin? Taking responsibility for our actions, choices, how we show up as a parent, being able to take responsibility without spiral into shame is a really important place to strengthen our self-trust. I can feel, like I said to you, I've messed up as a mom, I'm sure 1,000 times, most recently 48 hours. Okay. Or maybe even more recently, and I'm not aware. That's very possible too. They may know it and I may not. Okay. 48 hours ago, I felt it. How do I feel something like bad? Like I feel badly that I handled something some way, or I didn't catch something that I feel like I should have. And how do I navigate those feelings without them spiraling? It's because I don't let them mean something bigger about who I am than what happened. It's about taking responsibility for, gosh, the way I handled that or responded to that was not at all the way I wished I had. I feel so badly that I did that. But what I don't let it turn into is I'm a bad mom. It's not I'm a bad mom now. And all of a sudden I'm like, I need someone to step in here and replace me. I'm a bad mom. Someone's just going to do this much better. It's more of that just, I'm going to take responsibility that I have a hand in my emotion because I made a choice that didn't align with my values. I'm going to feel that rub. That rub usually shows up as guilt. So now I feel guilt, and what I do with that guilt is what matters. So this mom guilt is like almost this like assumption that, first of all, because we're moms, we're going to feel guilty all the time. That's actually not true. We don't have to feel guilty all the time. But what we can do that's even more important than whether or not we feel guilt or how often we feel guilt is what our relationship with that guilt is. If I take that guilt and I take it as from a single moment or several discrete moments of time, and I start to make them mean something, have a bigger interpretation than just a hard night or a hard moment or a difficult interaction or, oh, I messed up here, and I turn it into, see, I'm a bad mom, now we are going to be in a very different mental space this is when we really get off track with just by being able to believe in ourselves. And this is when we get more insecure, and this is where we question ourselves, and this is where we just spiral. So for women that feel this mom guilt, I just want to offer an alternative perspective that yes, guilt is a normal human emotion. And yes, maybe there are times as a mom, because you're just very responsible for other humans and how if they stay alive and healthy and well, that we have a propensity to feel guilty more often. But I also want to say that there's a very powerful relationship with your guilt that you can have that doesn't turn it into shame or being a bad mom. It can just be a hard moment that you did the best you could and you still missed the mark, and you forgive yourself much like you would coach your children to forgive themselves, and you move on and you don't make it mean something bigger.
Yeah, I love that because, like it's easier to go down the rabbit hole and just keep letting it spin and spin. But just even to the point of permission earlier, you can give yourself permission to not let it go. Ooh, to not let it go further. So,
That's
Dr.
right.
Wendy, let's end with a tip to encourage women who are in the arena fighting for the life they want.
Stop fighting and start embracing. Stop fighting you don't have to fight for a life you want. Start embracing the possibility that you get to have it too. Start giving yourself permission that whatever's been like that sneaky wish or thought or fantasy but in the background that you've not been giving yourself permission to put in the forefront and to really embrace the pursuing of that life, let that be this next chapter for you. Let that be your next goal. Let that be your next iteration. Let that be your next up level. Just give yourself permission to stop feeling like it has to be a fight. And instead you get to, instead you can, instead you will. Let it be something that you really phrase in the words and the terms that get you so excited to go for it that it doesn't feel like no one wants to take on a fight. We're already surviving. We already are trying to keep our heads above water. The idea of another fight is not what we want at all. So if we change even the way we look at that and we think, how can I embrace this next iteration of me and become my best self? That's way more exciting and empowering than feeling like we have to fight against something else. So that's my tip. Get out there and give yourself permission to thrive.
So good. OTBers, you heard Dr. Wendy. Stop fighting, start embracing. And Dr. Wendy, how can we connect with you?
On Instagram, where all great things happen, at Dr. Wendy Oconnor. I'm sure we can write it out in the show notes, but Dr. Wendy Oconnor on Instagram. I love when you guys say hi, so please feel free to say hi. If there's anything that resonated with you in this episode, I'd be so grateful to hear. I love sharing this time with you this afternoon, so thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you so much. You've been a total badass, and I've enjoyed hearing your story.
Awesome.
And with that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.